Hey everyone, Brandon and Brandon back again at the Kabuki Strength Lab, and today we're going to be talking about rowing. Now specifically about the scapular function in your rowing mechanics. We talk a lot about scapular function being very important to the success of your bench press and stability in the squat and deadlift, but we don't often talk about how to actually train the upper back effectively. Now there's many considerations that we need to be made when we are talking upper back training. Are we talking about transferring that training to squatting and deadlifting? Are we talking about transferring that training to bench pressing? And those are two very different things. When we talk squatting and deadlifting, the force vector associated with that is primarily an axial force vector. Therefore, our total back strength, including our erectors, is probably a little bit more important than the actual strength of our scapulas. Where in the bench press, it is more of a horizontal AP vector or anterior to posterior vector, and because of that, the scapular function, scapular strength, is a bit more important than the erector strength, and therefore we should probably train them slightly different or make slightly different considerations across the training plan. So we have set up for you today a barbell row in a Cadillac Bar row that we're going to demonstrate today. One of the primary considerations that we're going to make for scapular training in a bench press is total range of motion moved in a rowing pattern. If we can get into this deep shoulder extension without dumping into excessive elevation of the scapula or any faulty mechanics throughout the thoracic spine in our rowing patterns, that's going to do amazing things for our actual bench press patterning. So what we have set up is the barbell in the Cadillac Bar, and we're going to measure the range of motion difference between the two and talk about some of the benefits of actually training the scapula with one or the other. Brandon, go ahead and let's do a set of 3 on the barbell row. And you guys can just visually watch. We hooked up an open barbell sensor to this just so that we can actually measure the range of motion, and you don't just have to take our word for it. Good. Let's take this off. Now guys, if you're unfamiliar with this device, this is a velocity measuring device. It's going to measure velocity, both peak and average, and it's going to measure your range of motion. So on that, we had a range of motion of 347 millimeters. Now we're going to get Brandon on the Cadillac Bar. Good. Give yourself another 3 here, Brandon. Good. We have Brandon on the mid grip there. You can probably experiment with multiple grips. See what we read out there. That 418 millimeters. So for about every 4 reps you do on this bar is going to equal an additional rep on your barbell row. That's just efficiency. Now when we're looking at training our erectors versus our scapula and lats, we probably have a little bit more loading potential with our barbell rows, which might make it a better option for your actual squatting and deadlifting training if you're trying to target your back. However, when we look at the Cadillac Bar, since we have a bigger range of motion and we know that the quality of shoulder extension and scapular retraction is infinitely important in a bench press, maybe you should do some of your actual rowing training on things that allow you to do a bigger range of motion. It doesn't have to be a Cadillac bar. We just use that bar because we manufacture, we have tons of them laying around, and we think it's a really cool bar, but the principle is still going to be the same for any of your upper back training. Brandon, anything, Dad?
I think about
cool. Brandon's out.